Here's the first question. Who or what is Hamas? Hamas is a terrorist organization made up of Sunni Muslims. Hamas, the name of the organization, is actually an acronym that translates from Arabic, the Islamic Resistance Movement. So it is an acronym that the group has used. However, the word Hamas itself, it's kind of a dual play on words, because Hamas in Arabic means zeal or strength. It's interesting, in Hebrew, the word Hamas is also a Hebrew word spelled C-H-A-M-A-S, and Hamas in Hebrew means violence. Violence. A more appropriate definition of what Hamas is all about. Hamas does not care about anyone or anything that stands in the way of their one mission, which is to kill Jews and to wipe Israel off the map. I'm not saying this. This is what their own charter says. The Hamas Covenant, the Hamas Charter, which was adopted in 1988, in part says this. This is the opening paragraph, quote, "Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it obliterated others before it." And also Article 7 says, quote, "The day of judgment would not come until the Muslims fight and kill the Jews." So they are bold in making this declaration. This is not, conspiracy. This is not, false information. They have a desire to kill Jews and to wipe Israel off the map and to establish it as an Islamic state. And they will kill and destroy anything and anyone who stands in the way of that mission. And not just Jews. They also don't care about Palestinians. Hamas uses Palestinians as human shields. Hamas intentionally sets up rocket launchers at schools and hospitals and civilian apartment buildings, knowing that when Israel retaliates, it'll be wonderful optics for Hamas when it shows innocent civilians killed in hospitals and schools, looking like Israel was targeting those things. No, Israel is targeting the rocket launchers that Hamas intentionally sets up there because they're using Palestinian civilians as human shields. They've even prevented their own Palestinian people from exiting Gaza City. Have you been hearing this? Listen, by the way, what nation drops leaflets in the language of that nation and tells them in advance, you better get out, we're coming in for the bad guys? But that's what Israel's been doing. They've been dropping leaflets from the sky in Arabic, telling Palestinian civilians, exit the northern part of the Gaza, go down to the south because we're about ready to come into Hamas and destroy Hamas. We're coming into the northern part of Gaza first. We're giving you advance notice. Do you know what the terrorists are doing? Hamas terrorists have actually kept 170,000 Palestinians from exiting Gaza City itself as a sign of solidarity. Stand with us. We're forcing you to stand with us and to stay here. They don't care. They don't even care about, listen to this. When that music concert was happening in Re'im, it was mostly attended to by Jews, but there were some Arab Israelis there who were killed as well. In Israel, you have not just Jews living in Israel proper. You have Arab Israeli citizens. These are Arabs who are either Muslim or Christians. Okay, I've had an Arab Israeli as a bus driver on our tours to Israel for the past 25 years. He just called me 2 days ago. His name is Munir Sayeg. Munir is an Arab. He's a Christian. He became a believer in Jesus about 10, 15 years ago, and he lives presently in Nazareth. They live, they work, they raise families in Israel proper, and they peacefully coexist with Jews. There were some Arab Israelis at that music concert. Hamas didn't care. They killed them too. See, they don't care. They will kill Jews. They will kill Palestinians. They will kill anyone and anything that stands in their way of the mission to kill Jews and to wipe Israel off the map. Because Hamas is an evil, demonic ideology, and they want to advance their agenda at whatever cost. So let me walk to the back wall here and give you a timeline of the history of Hamas. This is very brief. This is a brief summary. 1987, Hamas was founded in Gaza by Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, a Palestinian cleric, as an offshoot of the Egyptian-based Muslim Brotherhood. In 1988, Hamas published its charter calling for the destruction of Israel and the establishment of an Islamic state in its place. I just read you a couple excerpts from their covenant or their charter. Then in 1991, its military wing, the Izzeddin al-Qassam Brigades, was established. In 1993, Hamas began suicide bombings in Israel just prior to the Oslo Accords. The Oslo Accords was intended to bring some peace between Israel and the Palestinians, but you see, Hamas is opposed to the Palestinian Authority because they think the Palestinian Authority is too secular, and Hamas is more violent. The Oslo Accords gave the Palestinian Authority autonomy and limited authority in Gaza and the West Bank. So in 1997, Hamas was designated a terrorist organization by the United States and dozens of other countries in response to the group's Iran-supported use of explosives and rockets, along with suicide bombings and kidnappings to target Israel. In 2000, they started their deadly intifada. This is actually the second intifada. That's just an Arabic word that means uprising. It was a deadly intifada of Palestinians against Israelis. That's when you started to see the Israeli government put up a fence to protect themselves. In 2005, Israel evacuated all their troops and settlers from Gaza and built a security fence around Gaza itself for Israel's national security. In 2006, Hamas won a surprise victory in Palestinian parliamentary elections and then seized full control of Gaza, overthrowing forces loyal to Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. As a result, much of the international community cut off aid to Gaza because they did not want to finance a terrorist-sponsored territory. You begin to see all the suffering of the Palestinian people. Israel gets blamed a lot for that. Israel has been supplying, up until this war, electricity, humanitarian aid, food, allowing people from Gaza to come over for work. The international community realized when a terrorist organization begins to run a territory, we can't continue to finance that, at least not at the same level. And then, of course, on October the 7th, 2023, Hamas terrorists penetrated the security fence around Gaza, and 1,500 terrorists enter Israel and attack, slaughter, and abduct Jews in the worst mass murdering of Jews since the Holocaust. Ladies and gentlemen, the Palestinian people in Gaza have no one to blame except Hamas for their poor living conditions, for their isolation, and for now the defensive war that Israel is waging in that region. Hamas is responsible for the poor conditions that the Palestinians are experiencing in the land and the territory of Gaza. These protesters in the United States who are holding up signs that say free Palestine, it should say free Palestine from Hamas. Hamas is responsible for their suffering. In 2006, when Hamas came to power through parliamentary elections, instead of taking finances that they had accumulated to help build infrastructure in Gaza, to help assist with humanitarian aid, instead of building factories, they took their finances and they built tunnels underground, hundreds of them. And they also amassed munition to target Israel. So they took all their resources and they devoted it to the destruction of Israel rather than helping to improve the condition of the Palestinian people that they supposedly represent. So number two, the question is then, why is Hamas so intent on destroying Israel and the Jewish people?